Wait,
Like,
what's
when
our,
we-
what's
when
our
we all
segment called?
Oh my God, what did we call it?
Notes Tuesday.
Take Note
Note
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Oh my God.
Toilet Talk Tuesday.
Oh my God.
Coming to you from the Coaches Collab because you spend that much time on the toilet between 10 and 20 minutes because you're a power lifter.
Dude, I do actually spend a lot of time pooping.
I'm a power squatter and squirter.
Do you?
Jesus H. Christ. You know my mom listens to this, right?
I really think
Mine does too.
out of the three of us, you know what I know for a fact now? I have decided this. Josh has a squatty potty.
No, I don't.
Damn.
But I do have a step stool that I could use for a squatty
Guess what
potty.
you're getting for a wedding present?
Hey, we'll go halvesies.
Squatty potty.
There you go. You know what? Courtney would love you if you got us a squatty potty.
Oh my God.
For
I mean,
real.
I really think they're like not that expensive, so
I don't give a fuck.
if it's
Yeah,
the
but I'll
thought-
get it monogrammed.
There you go. Jesus.
customized.
August 3rd,
Ginger
2019.
Snap says it right
There
there.
you go.
Shit on this, Ginger Snap.
Are you ready?
The Coaches Collaboration Podcast presents
Take Note Tuesday. Note Tuesday.
Oh, I'm sorry. You don't have a lot of time? No problem.
Each week, we'll pick a topic and drop some knowledge in a short, concise mini episode.
Take Note Tuesday is a production of the Coaches Collaboration Podcast, hosted by Cole Warren of Salutum Health and Performance, Josh Pearson of The Complete Athlete, produced by Brooke Stevens.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to start up.
Let's go.
All right, so for today's Take Note Tuesday, Pearson over here wanted to talk about our pre-lift rituals.
Yeah.
You want just the quirky ones or you want the ones that really make sense?
Well, it could be even in your warm up, you have a certain way of thinking or your
So mindset.
Yeah. Like preparation mindset. So maybe you're thinking to yourself, I got to bench 450 today.
Damn,
You're already
dude.
trying to feel what that's going to feel like.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like stuff like that.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just map out kind of what I do when I go to the gym. I'll just use squat as my example because that's kind of all I can do right now.
So you go to the bathroom, jerk off quick.
You're coming
you know
in
what? You know
hard
what?
today.
I need to get one of those little buttons that just goes, no. Like, why do you say some of these things?
Well, until you get that button. So you jerk off in the bathroom.
Okay, so I walk in the gym and I do 5 minutes on the stationary bike.
Mm-hmm.
And then
What are you thinking about?
usually just
When this 5 minutes is
Okay.
going to be over?
I guess
Right.
so
God,
on
this
the
cardio is so shitty.
on the drive to the gym, I'll start my hype sequence,
Okay.
right?
Is that when you take your pre-workout?
I'll start sipping on it on the way to the gym.
Okay.
I'll sip on it like kind of slowly because for me, if I drink all my pre-workout right away, like it literally takes me an hour to get to my top set. So I would be coming down from it by the time I need it.
Yeah.
So in the car, play some hype music, you know, get in the mindset, sipping on my pre-workout a little bit, and then get to the gym, go claim my squat rack, throw my stuff down.
I love how you say that. Claim my squat rack.
Yep. Okay. So hop off the bike. Then I do my hip circle circuit. So I'll throw on a hip circle, do some monster walks, some lateral walks, kind of get my glutes activated. Then
What are you thinking about though? Like that's what I want to talk about.
I'm thinking about how bad my glutes are burning.
Yeah.
At this point,
You're not thinking through the squat at all, or
no, not really. So then I'll do kind of like a leg swing. I'll do forward leg swings and lateral leg swings on each leg. Then kind of loosen my hips up, and then eventually I get under the bar. And the biggest thing that I've been focusing on lately, and it's kind of an issue that I have in my squat technique, is my ankles are really tight. So I'll do a couple sets with just the bar, and then I'll kind of feel where my body's at. So, say if I'm doing my reps, I'm like, shit, you know, at the bottom, I'm really going on my toes. I don't have that mobility today, or my hips are already tight.
Yep.
Between those warm-up sets, I'll work on that mobility. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So a lot of people, what they do is they go in the gym and they do this same exact mobility drill for every single day. I think because one, I don't want to be in the gym for 5 hours.
Right.
So I'll go into the gym, do some general stuff first, right? And then I'll start the movement. And then like going through the movement, that's what's going to tell me what I need to spend time on mobility wise. Because like if I go through a squat and I'm able to like maintain like positioning really well, say my hips are already loose, like there's no point in me spending time doing hip stuff, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm going through those squats, I'm thinking, trying to keep my weight in the middle of my foot because, like I said, my ankles are really tight, so I tend to go towards my toes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I usually do 2 sets with 1 plate, 2 sets with 2 plates. So my first set with each of those weights, I'm really focusing on technique and form, making sure everything's perfect. And then on the second set,
Do you change your tempo or?
yes. So my first one is more slowish, feeling it. And then my second set, I'm thinking power, speed.
Yeah. Okay.
So now that I've already felt the weight, that first set, that second set, I want to move it as fast as I can. So I can kind of get that CNS woken up.
Yeah, you got that timing down and
Right. So, like I said, 2 sets at 1 plate, 2 sets at 2 plates. And then once I go up from there, it's like I should have the technique kind of already automatic in me. So I'm not thinking so much technique anymore. When I go to 3 plates, it's more just move this as fast as possible. But like I said, the one thing that I do constantly have in my mind is weight in the middle of my foot.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's one, like I said, that's an issue that I tend to have.
So walk me through, let's say it's a PR attempt.
Okay.
Is my mic cutting in and out? No, it's good. It kind of is. Anyway,
I think you're good.
I think I'm good. I think I'm just crazy.
Talk
me through it.
PR attempt or just like a heavy set. I will. So our rack is like kind of right next to like a walkway. So what I do is I grab my belt and I grab my wrist straps, and I'm a pacer.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
stand still. I gotta be walking. I gotta be like, even when I was in high school and college playing football, like between plays, I would be pacing back and forth. Like, I think that's just kind of my output of like this nervous energy that I have.
Yeah.
So I pick a song, and usually I pick like kind of a build-up song. Like, this first song isn't giving me the song that I listen to during my set, but it's kind of like getting me in the zone a little bit. So I pick that song. I start putting my belt on, putting my wrist straps on, and then as I get closer to being ready, then I'll switch to that song, put my phone in my belt, because you know that little loop?
Yep.
Slip
it in there.
your phone right there so it's not in your pocket, because I got my Bluetooth headphones stolen, so I have a cord like a peasant.
Yeah.
So Brooke's sad face.
I just
right now.
use an entire stereo.
Well,
Oh my God, there's going to be a magical gnome that's going to deliver you some Bluetooth headphones. Sorry.
From Walgreens.
happen.
Hopefully she doesn't spend much.
No, I would
They'll
only get
probably
him the
get
ones that
stolen again.
like here's the deal. I
Like
don't
the
spend a lot of
$8
money
ones.
on earbuds because I break them. Very easily break them. So, but as long as it's a good, dependable Bluetooth,
right.
and I know it has good sound, like the ones that I picked up yesterday, you were like, well, you probably got some cheap ones. I go, well, they weren't $100, but they are actually, they're
Well,
so.
the ones I got stolen were $170.
I know,
AirPods.
because
They're good.
you were one of the, hi, these are my AirPods and I'm special.
Well, to my defense,
Skull candy.
I listen.
$50.
I listen to podcasts all day at work.
True.
Yeah.
So it made sense for me to invest in a nice pair of headphones because I use them 10 hours a day.
Yeah, constantly. I get it.
So
I just laugh that every time you do a heavy deadlift, though, they all fly out your ears
not
every
me.
single time.
Not me.
Okay, maybe everyone else on the team.
So Apple earphones fit perfectly in my ear.
You haven't had Samsungs then yet.
You're lucky, 'cause
can
they don't.
suck
I've
me
got some
off.
with me if you want to try them.
I don't even care, dude. Get that Android shit out of my ear.
They just fit so perfectly.
I just don't really care. I like the ones that like stick all the way in my ear. Like I almost got
Those
the
ones
custom.
don't stay in for
I
me.
almost got the custom where they mold your ear.
What?
I almost got customs.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, they're spendy, but worth it.
For sure.
Until they get stolen out of your
Yeah.
car. Like
Yeah, I know.
mine.
Right?
Anyways,
Tuck your phone in.
tuck my phone in, and I'll do that like on my when I'm furthest away, like because I'm pacing back and forth this entire time. Because moving and then also listening to music, that's just slowly getting me amped up.
Right.
And I slowly tend to pick up the pace. You know what I mean? Because walking faster gets me more amped than walking slower. I
Right.
don't know.
I'm the same exact way.
Yeah. So I'm furthest away. Then I'll like start wrapping my last wrist strap as I'm walking up to the rack. And then for whatever reason, like I either will hit myself like in the belt or I'll smash my wrists together, like where the wraps are, just because like I'm so effing amped. I
Right.
need a little output there. And then just like the little bit of like pain. I don't know. Like it
Yeah,
gets
your
me even more
adrenaline
amped.
just gets going.
And then step into the rack, grab the bar. I freaking yank on the bar and then do my entire setup. But at that point, I'm like we mentioned on the last one, I am kind of like my mind is turned off. I kind of go into that blackout space because if I think too much, then I'll throw myself off.
Yeah.
So I have to, on one of those top sets where you like have to go nuts, I have to get to the point where I'm not thinking or else I'll screw myself up because I'll overthink.
Yeah.
You know, like when I unrack, I'll be like, fuck, this feels heavy. So I'm at the point where like I'm so amped, I'm not even thinking at all. And that's at the point where all of your warm-up sets and all of your technique that you think about doing your warm-up sets goes into play, because at that top set, you can't really afford to think about a lot of stuff because you're going to lose that intensity.
Right.
So yeah.
And you just practice what you've always practiced.
Exactly.
Right.
It should just be automatic.
Yeah, for me, so squats, I have a ritual, but it's nothing worth noting.
Yeah.
'Cause squats are always 3rd or 4th on my list.
Right.
But on a snatch, let's say a technique day, my setup will be different just based on what I'm working on, because I work on so many different positions and things like that. So it could be something as simple as me just going over in my head, okay, at this point, I need to do whatever. I need to drive down, wrap the bar around my leg, whatever it is, right?
So you're
Fast
actually,
hands,
when you're like getting ready for it, you are thinking about these cues
that
in
one
your head.
cue. Yeah. One cue. So, and it could be the entire.
And it's something that was maybe like not necessarily an issue, but something that you had to think about doing your warm-ups. Like, for whatever reason, I'm not getting the under the bar fast enough today. So that's the cue you're thinking about during that set.
Exactly. Yeah. And then there are some days where I purposefully, let's say I'm doing snatches off the blocks. It's all about how fast I get under the bar and lock it out.
Right. So your mindset is speed.
Exactly.
Speed.
So I might just be thinking to myself, to me, fast hands is everything I need. It means that, my elbows follow, and then my it goes shoulder, elbow follows through, fast hands over. And to me, that just works. Some days, maybe my upper body is doing the right thing, but then I have to think my lower body is just kind of settling.
Right.
Maybe it needs to be stand before I hit the bottom of my squat. Something like that.
So you're kind of only emphasizing one thing at a time.
Yeah. But then on a max out, what I'll do is, this is about the only time I'll sit down, because I'm the same way. I'll pace back and forth.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, every time I sit down, it hyper calms me.
Same here. I gotta be up.
Yeah.
I gotta be moving. I gotta be.
Yeah. And on clean and jerks, I'll pace all the way right to that bar. But on a snatch, I just can't be too hyped up. So I'll sit down, but I'll literally try to put my body into that motion just by sitting there, where I feel, because most of the time when I'm hitting a snatch, I've hit it twice, or even if it's a PR, I kind of know what it's going to feel like. So anything that could potentially throw me off, I'm already trying to just like skip in my head.
Right.
Where, as soon as I lift it off the ground, what if I walk onto my toes a little bit? Well, this is how I'll correct that problem. And where I'm trying to battle the problems that could potentially happen, so that when I hit that bar, it's just automatic.
You already solved all those issues.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that reminds me of something that I do too, is I can't never say this word.
Visualization.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do a lot playing football too. Like before the game, when I'm getting hyped, I would like just picture myself just like destroying a running back or like making a perfect read and like, beating a block. So I'm thinking about that too when I'm hyping up. I'm like thinking about watching myself do the lift and just making it look perfect and fast and explosive
while feeling it at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
But that way, so for me, that's why I can, when I get under the bar, I turn everything off, because it's like, I've already done this before, and I'm going to make it look like just like I thought it was going to look like.
Yeah. I'll have one last thought. It's, remember, this is what it looked like.
Yep.
And boom. And most of the time I'm successful. Sometimes I don't, because I make a mistake, whatever. But every single time I approach a snatch, it's my right foot goes under the bar, then my left foot.
Yep.
Then
for me, it's my left and then my right.
Okay. Then I see my focal point. I, set my feet. I set my hips. I tip over to the bar.
Yep.
It goes right hand, left hand. Then I wiggle around, making sure everything's there. I hook the bar. I wrap my wrists as much as I can. Then I think to myself, take as much time as you need on the setup. So I just slow it down, make sure.
Hey, Brooke, what was I telling you during your setup at the bench meet yesterday?
Slow it down.
Be patient.
Be patient.
Yep.
Yeah. And what was funny is it was actually my setup. Every time I've competed so far, it's my setup that will throw off my lift. It's not the lift is too heavy. Like when I have had time to kind of digest, and we can talk about it in the big podcast for the week. But when I had a chance to digest that third lift, that it was my only miss lift of my bench meet, I know why I missed it. I know exactly why I missed it. Because looking at what I was lifting in the gym, that was not out of my range at all. I had lifted more than that for a set of 2 or at the same for a set of 2 at the gym, no problem. I know exactly what my problem was. And it was in my actual pre-lift ritual between the 2 lifts, and it was in my setup. I was in my head about my setup, and we can talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll touch on that.
But yeah, if that is off a little bit, your whole timing is off. At least for
it
me.
messes everything up.
Right.
And then you're while you're literally starting to lift the weight, you're thinking about shit. My setup was off.
Yeah.
So now when you're actually should be thinking about lifting the weight, you're thinking about how your setup was wrong. So
and
then
if it's
you're totally
a big
messed
snatch
up.
or something, you're fucked.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the point of no return.
Exactly.
If you're already there. And
Especially
you're like,
if your cue happens after the setup. 'Cause
Oh,
sometimes
dude.
it might be during the setup, like, oh, remember to do this.
Yeah.
Okay, I did it. Now just flow.
Right.
But sometimes it's after. Fast hands, make sure I'm using my legs, or stand up right away, or whatever it is. And you will not get it. You will miss it every time, drop it on you, whatever. I've actually recently changed my snatch setup.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was rushing it a little too much, where I took the time to get my body in the right position, but I almost feel like as I was setting up to lift the bar, as I was lifting, I was getting tight at the same time rather than getting tight then lifting.
Right.
So I've slowed down my snatch a few ticks. It's been weird because it's very different.
Right. Because there's that learning curve a little bit, and you got to get used to it again.
But there's way more control.
yeah.
I can.
Isn't that funny how
time
it's
it out
something
better.
that you do before you even lift that affects the lift
For
itself?
sure. Yeah.
Like that for a lot of new people, that doesn't make a lot of sense because they're like, well, I'll just change it when I have the weight. But it's like,
no.
that's not really how it works.
Yeah,
'Cause
you need to change
especially
it in your first warm-up set.
well, and especially like in the squat or the bench press for us powerlifters, like once you unrack that weight is on you.
Yeah, you're not going to jump it over. Yeah,
Right. You're not
put
going
it
to
on
be
your
able
back
that's,
wrong.
that's the point of no return
Right.
there. Like you're kind of set wherever you're set. So
Yeah, it's not like with a bench, you're going to grab it, move your hands in
Right,
midair, and
right.
then do something. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are some takeaways you think that people should take about rituals, setups, stuff like
I
that?
almost feel, and I've told this to a lot of people, your lift needs to start at least 3 paces away from where the bar is.
Yep.
And even if it's a bad setup, establish a setup
Yep.
where it's, even if it's just I think these thoughts, I set up, I get my back set, grab the bar off the rack, and then I'm ready
Make
to
it
bench.
repeatable.
Yeah, because
Make
you
it-
can always change it later.
It should be the same thing every single time. That way, when you go to make little tweaks, then you can apply it. Like it's
Right.
hard to, in that way too, when you actually do the lift and something was off, you can look back and be like, okay, maybe I need to change this in my setup so that it can change what was wrong in the actual lift. So make your setup repeatable, make it ritualistic. That way it's one of the only like for sure things during the lift because who knows how the weight's actually going to move.
Exactly.
The
yeah.
one thing that you can make repeatable and make the same every single time is your setup.
Right.
And it should be the same regardless. Like you should be doing that setup when you're at 50% of your warm-ups.
Absolutely.
Like maybe like the actual lift is going to look a lot different, but the setup should be the exact same every time.
Because then you can make adjustments.
Yep.
And for you, if your ankles are tight, you'll know.
Exactly.
If your hips aren't responding or you're favoring one leg over the other in your pull, you'll know. It bugs me when a lot of people will do that no think lift where they just step in, grab and go.
Grip and rip. I
Exactly.
hate it, man.
But they might be 3 paces back, kind of waddle up to it, grab and go. It scares the crap out of me because they're not actually set.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the thing to mention that it should be apparent to everybody when we talk about ritualistic, it isn't meaning like for each of your sets when you're ready for competition, when it's the big lift. It's every lift. It's when you walk into the gym every day on a Monday and that's what you're doing. Like I feel like as a newbie lifter, there's that little part of you that still goes, oh my God, is anyone watching me do this? Like
Right,
you get a little.
Or I saw someone do this on Instagram and it looked cool, so I should try it.
Right. If it doesn't feel right for you and it's not part of yours, it's okay to try things. It's not okay to try things on meet day. It is not okay to try things on
top sets.
Right.
Yeah.
And no, like you try that stuff. And you know what the best part is? If you're lucky enough to have a coach or to have someone that you can talk to about your programming, when you're going to try something new, ask first.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, I mean, how many times have I come to you, Cole, with something and thought, well, I saw this, and you're like, but,
Yep.
and then I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So it's that whole never be afraid to ask questions, and don't be embarrassed to have, I mean, I don't care what your setup looks like as long as it gives you your best lift.
Exactly. That's why I think there are some extremely crazy setups out there.
There really
but
are.
at the end of the day, if they make their lift and that's what they have to do in order to make their lift,
It's right.
Who the fuck cares?
Hey, as long as it's within 1 minute and you don't get red lighted for being too long on the platform,
Exactly.
more power to
Yeah.
you.
And the last thing I'll say is, especially with a deadlift, let's say, you want every single deadlift you ever do to be as similar as possible. Because otherwise, to your body, if one day your hips are a little high or whatever, your feet are staggered, it's not the same deadlift. You're picking something off of the ground. That's great. But to your body, it's a different motion.
Right.
So if you can establish that routine, if you can establish that setup, then you're going to be so close to always doing it this deadlift. So your body can get better at that
Exactly.
mechanism.
It's going to adapt to it. It's going to fall into that. It's like, okay, we're deadlifting
This
now.
is
We
an
know how to do
official
this.
technique. Yeah. And then when you do something 10,000 times, it's 10,000 the exact same way. Not I did 2,000 this way, 2,000 that way. And sometimes my body fights it.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. So in closing, make your setup repeatable, make it ritualistic, and then don't be afraid to change it if you need to, but make sure there's a reason behind everything you do.
Take Note Tuesday will drop every Tuesday.
Obviously.
What do you mean you haven't subscribed yet? What the hell are you waiting for?
Take Note Tuesday is a production of the Coaches Collaboration Podcast.
This week on the Coaches Collaboration Podcast.
If you've had a rocky start to 2019, you're not the only one. We'll talk about how the new year's going so far.
We find out how amazing our lifting community is in someone's time of need.
Whether you're new to the gym or not, are you setting appropriate goals?
Are you throwing away your hard work at the gym by wasting your rest days?
If you're waiting for someone to give you an answer, have you even asked the question? We'll talk about ways to reach out and how to research for your own journey.
Next episode drops Thursday.